Good evening, and welcome to the Forum. The Forum at Columbia's Manhattanville campus. We are the gateway to Columbia's new Manhattanville campus, which this week has been transformed and transported by the technological play of water and light in Waterlicht, an ethereal, experiential art installation that we will learn more about tonight. I'm Mary McGee, Executive Director of the Forum, and the Forum is especially pleased to be co-presenting tonight's conversation with the School of the Arts, because the Forum, one of Columbia's newest resources, is designed to be a center for intellectual and community engagement that is innovative, transformative, and forward-looking while nurturing collaborative thinking. Waterlicht, indeed, the year of water, ticks off all of these boxes and then some, challenging us to look at our world, our communities, our work, and ourselves in new ways. For this initiative, we have to thank Carol Becker, Professor of the Arts and Dean of Faculty at Columbia University's School of the Arts. A visionary coordinator and leader, Dean Becker envisioned how declaring our academic year the Year of Water could foreground the diverse educational, research, and creative endeavors among our faculty and students around the theme of water, connecting these ideas and bringing them in conversation with each other and our broader community. Collectively, this initiative is driving deeper awareness of a precious resource that we in the US too often take for granted: agua, pani, misu, shui, voda, vesi. Water. The river of events that continue to flow throughout the Year of Water inspire learning, reflection, and action. Carol, thank you for the concept and the challenge, and for bringing Daan Roosegaarde and Waterlicht to help inaugurate Columbia's Year of Water and fuel the conversations and changes needed to better sustain our world. Dean Becker, come on up here and thank you.
There's so many friends in the audience. This is really fun tonight. So there are just so many people to thank for everything, and for Waterlicht, which when you see it, you'll see why we have to thank so many people, because we had to make it dark. And it's not easy to make New York dark. And believe me when I tell you, it's taken teams. So I thank all of Columbia for the participation and for working together so brilliantly. So the list really is huge, but I want to thank one person in particular tonight, and that's Melissa Smay, director of Miller Theater and of the Arts Initiative. And I want to thank her for just helping enormously to pull it all together, but also because it's her birthday. So. I really also want to thank our amazing communications team, and Shayla Murray is here, and Eva Glassberg is here, who they just believed in this from the beginning. They just said, oh, this thing could be big, this could be great, we're going to help you. And I have to say, it was one of the first times I've had that experience, so I thought, this is fantastic, you know. This is fantastic. People are just jumping to help us at the School of the Arts. And it's worked out wonderfully. So Waterlicht, Daan, none of us say it right, but we all try, Daan Roosegaarde, interactive light sculpture, which some of you have already seen and others of you will be seeing tonight, is one of the opening events for the Year of Water, and Mary spoke about this a little bit. It's our Columbia-wide initiative to bring consciousness to the issue of water and the work that artists and designers and architects and urban planners and writers and thinkers and lawyers and health workers and scientists and journalists and others are doing each day to communicate and address the urgent issues surrounding climate change and water in particular. In its breadth, water is perhaps the most central issue to the future of human habitation. We cannot survive without water, and 1/4 of the world's population is experiencing water stress at this time. It is a global issue, and it is also a national issue. The absence of potable water in Flint and now in Newark has shown us up close how negligent we have been about water and how unjust the repercussions can be when we are, and how much our consciousness needs to evolve around the issue. And it is in this developing of consciousness that art can intervene. And Daan is an artist and a designer and an architect and an inventor and a thinker. And as he says, he creates proposals for a future world, which I love. I first met Daan when he was a participant on a panel I was moderating at the World Economic Forum, and that year he had installed an interactive piece called Dune, and various dignitaries and heads of state were waving their arms over a fanciful garden of flexible plastic reeds with white LED tips that, when triggered by motion, would illuminate the space. And I was really immediately impressed by how he mixed poetry and pragmatics and glimpsed future reality and understood a collective and urgent need to become more aware of how we interact with the planet. And almost a decade since that first meeting, our collective human actions and behavior in relationship to the natural world have become that much more urgent, and Daan's work and his thinking about the work have become that much more relevant. Born and raised in the Netherlands, he is very aware of climate change and climate changed and its consequences. And since half of the Netherlands is only a meter above sea level, and nature is an aquatic engineering wonder made possible by dikes and dams and wind-driven pumps, better known as windmills, canals and floodgates. The list of Daan's work is unique and varied, with many large, important public projects already in the world. And I'm going to let his presentation of some of this work and our discussion about it elaborate more of this for you in detail. Already well known in the US and in Asia, he's becoming well known in the US as well. It is important to note that his intellectual, artistic, philosophical, and spiritual influences include Leonardo da Vinci, Marshall McLuhan, Rem Koolhaas, Buckminster Fuller, and the earthwork artists such as Robert Smithson and Michael Heiser and Walter de Maria, and of course, Mondrian and the Dutch Golden Age landscape painters, who all loved beauty. He has a fabulous building, Studio Roosegaarde, which he's going to show you some images of, I think, in Rotterdam, where the dreaming and the invention takes place, with a team of amazing and excellent fellow travelers. There are few artists working at this time who can address the issues of climate and our relationship to the state of the natural world as brilliantly, seriously, beautifully, positively, and playfully as Daan Roosegaarde. He's going to speak about a few of his projects, and then he and I are going to be in conversation, and after that, we're going to open it up to questions, and after all of that, we're going to have books. He has a beautiful new Phaidon monograph, which I even have an essay in, and we're going to have them in the back if people want them afterwards. So let's welcome Daan Roosegaarde to Columbia.
Hey, Carol. Thanks. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Carol, thanks for the introduction. Happy birthday. Very special to be here. So let's talk about future. Let's talk about future. Future is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because some people think the future is something static, written on walls, hidden, waiting for us, for humanity, but it's not. We first have to imagine the future. We have to build it up in our head. We have to wonder about it. We have to think, what do we want from it, and what does it want from us? And then, only then, we can create it, we can engineer it, we can prototype it, and step by step drag it into reality. But how will it look like, and how will it feel like, and will it be good for us? Will we become robot food for the machines, or will technology help us to enhance our human values? That's the topic I want to address today, and after that we have indeed some time for Q&A, and of course the opening of Waterlicht. So some people think about the notion of an artist and a designer as this crazy, brilliant guy sitting on an attic cutting off little pieces of his ear, which is only partly true. It is always teamwork. We're all standing on the shoulders of the giants before us. So this is Studio Roosegaarde, a studio that I launched 10, 11 years ago, basically because I had all those ideas and nobody really knew how to build them. So after being frustrated for 1 year, I'm like, then I'll just do it myself, yes? So we found this beautiful old glass factory that we renovated. So on the left you have the team of designers, engineers. On the right, the project managers. They shape process, they shape material, working together. And below, on the ground level, you have a larger space for the prototype. So it's very important, you know, like we ask ourselves questions. How do we create a better world? What is the price of clean air? How can we use design and art as a trigger, as an activator to create a better society? And basically, it's very simple. You put some smart people in a room with a pizza hotline on the door, and you say, nobody leaves until we have a solution. Prototyping, engineering, failing, a lot of failure. You learn from it, you upgrade, and you go next step. And I'm the son of a math teacher, so science has always been very, very important. Technology has always been very, very important to sort of unravel, to unveil, to discover in a way all the knowledge which is on this precious planet Earth. And what is also very important, I love innovation, I love technology, but there's this weird tendency sometimes that a lot of people say, we want progress, we want innovation, we want advancement, but at the same time, when you present a radical new idea, people reply your proposal with two really annoying words, which is? Yes, but. Oh my God, you know it way too well. That's not good. Yeah. So this is our very famous yes, but chair. And this is an existing chair by Friso Kramer, Dutch design. He just died, unfortunately, but beautiful. But we gave it a little upgrade, a little hack. So there's a little voice recognition underneath it, and it listens to everything in its surroundings. And the moment you say those two horrible, really annoying little words, it gives you a little shock on the backside of your bottom. And it looks something like this, yeah.
Yes, but.
So that sort of works, yeah. Okay, so so no more yes, but. That's, you can, what if, we can be critical, we can debate, but, and of course we like books. We'll have a book signing later, Fade, and this is really cool. The good thing about a book is that it doesn't have a battery life, so it's always on. And it's a really great way to share stories. But what really drives me is this, and this is, I think, very important, and I wanted to share this with you tonight. It's not so much about sort of decorating reality or trying to make it only more beautiful. I think it's about not decorating, but about reforming it, reshaping it. So World Economic Forum, Carol mentioned it in the introduction, one of the think tanks in Geneva, made a list, a sort of top 10 skill list. What are the qualities of you and me that we need to become future-proof? And this is very interesting when you look at this, because it's not about money or C++ or artificial intelligence or VR. These are important things, but they are not the thing that separates us. Look at this. Number 3, creativity. Number 2, critical thinking. Number 1, problem solving, complex problem solving. All the things a computer and a robot is actually quite bad at, yes? And this is, I think, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting, because yes, we will live in this hyper-technological world. So the taxi driver will become self-driving, the accountant will disappear because of AI. A lot of things are changing because of technology. But does that mean that we will become robot food? No, of course not. The same as when the photo camera was invented, it didn't mean that painting disappeared suddenly. No, it just changed. But it does mean that we need to invest in our human values, our desire to learn, our desire to share, our desire to explore. I mean, why did we came here tonight at Columbia, at the university? Because we want to explore, we want to progress. And so these are the human values that separates us from the machines and therefore are becoming more and more important. So I believe as technology progresses, that we will live in a world where creativity is our true capital, because that's the thing that computers are actually quite bad at, and we in humans are actually really good at. Yes? So that's very hopeful. Or we just become robot food. That's the second scenario. So clean air, clean water, clean energy, clean space. These are our future values. So everything you design, either it's a car or a fashion or a city or a chair, should have those values in its DNA. If you don't do that, you're not future-proof. Right now, we still live in a world where to pollute is for free. That's not going to last very long. Yeah? So let's talk clean water as first. So, as Carol mentioned, I am from the Netherlands, Dutch, Holland. And as you may know, most of it is below sea level. But because of these kind of beauties, this is the Afsluitdijk, a famous 32-kilometer dam built by hand in 1932, this ensures that we don't die. That's the simplest way to explain it. So on the left you have the sea, on the right you have Amsterdam, Rotterdam, my own hometown. And this is very interesting because my Chinese friends, they see these kind of images and they are like, are you crazy? Yeah? Just move to the hills, move to higher ground, move to Germany, Who lives below sea level? It's crazy. But we don't. And more than 1,000 years, we've used design, engineering, technology, management, creative thinking to create our own home. But sometimes, even the Dutch, they forget. And so the Water Council, who manages all these dikes and these windmills, very old, 1,000-year-old, came to us and asked, can you create something to create water awareness? Since we have been doing our job so well for 1,000 years, and fight the floods, and made sure everything is safe, that everybody thinks we're not there anymore, we don't care. So we created Waterlicht. This was 5 years ago, a combination of LEDs and lenses, which actually shows how high water level would be if we stop. If we take life for granted, if we think somebody else will take care of it. Short movie.
Best wel spooky. Spacey. Ja.
Wat ik het gevoel dat ik erbij krijg is een beetje onderwaters. Dat je onder een laag zit.
Ja, best wel mooi, vind ik.
With the waves above us. And it's magnificent.
Ik weet natuurlijk dat we beneden zeeniveau zitten, maar ja, zoals je het zegt, zou het niet zo fijn zijn als ik dit opeens over me heen ga voelen, nee.
So how can art be an activator to embrace change? We all know sea level's rising. We all know, but somehow we don't act. We're sort of waiting for permission or government. And I think that's the beauty of art, and that's also the beauty of Waterlicht, that it creates a notion of wonder. Yes, where we're not scared of the future, but curious. Should we build floating cities? Can we generate energy from the changing in tide? And it was really special to see what happens when you do these kind of public space. I like control. I'm an artist, I'm a designer. I like control. I like details. I like control. When you do public space, you are out of control. You do not have control. So what happens when you do public space, people start to customize it, got to personalize it. This was in Toronto 1 year ago. People started to dress up as mermaids. How did she get there? It was freezing cold. And we were there, we're like, what are you doing? She's like, yeah, I just felt like it. And it's like, I don't know, yeah, okay, fine, interesting. Or Daft Punk came and sort of recorded this video clip, So we're very, very curious. And of course, you guys, New Yorker, tonight and tomorrow, when we're showing Waterlicht here, you gotta beat the mermaid. So we're really, we're putting our hopes and dreams in. But what I'm trying to say, what is interesting, these kind of public artworks, is that people start to occupy it in their own way, to personalize it. And I think that's really beautiful. And I, as a maker, can only look at it, take a photo, and try to learn from it. So the place here in Columbia University, and when we started the conversation with Carol and her team, it's a much more compact, a more dense location. This is from the top part from one day ago. Beautiful Renzo Piano building, and it creates a really like a place of wonder. This was yesterday night, raining cats and dogs. And what I like about that, when the rain hits the light, it gets reflected, so you get this little water diamond. So we actually made an artwork where the shittier the weather, the better the artwork. I think that's pretty cool. No? I wish I would have thought of that in the beginning. But, yeah, people laying on the ground. Yeah. So we'll have a look tonight what's happening. Yeah. But I think the beauty of a project like this is that it creates a collective experience where we're thinking about water, the power of water, the poetry of water, the threat of water, the danger of water, but also, you know, that world is already there. So how do we deal with that? And maybe art is a beautiful activator to make people curious about that future world instead of just being scared. Clean air. 4 years ago, this was the view from my room in Beijing. Good day, bad day. Eh? I love China. I learned from it for many, many years. But our desire for progress creates pollution. We live 5 to 6 years shorter. Children have lung cancer when they're 6 years old. So somehow the city has become a machine that is killing us, that is hurting us. And how do we deal with that? We don't know. And that's not just Beijing. New York, Rotterdam, my own hometown. If you live next to a highway, 17 cigarettes per day that you passively inhale in your lungs. Without the pleasure of the nicotine, you know. That's not the definition of a smart city. When did we say yes to that? So looking outside my window, I became inspired by Beijing smog. You know? That's the beauty of it. You can be inspired by many things. And I remember being this boy playing with plastic balloons at this children's party. When you polish it with your hand, it becomes... Guys, I'm not being rhetorical. Yes, thank you. Yeah, charged. They become static. It starts to play with your hair. What if we would use that principle to build the largest smog vacuum cleaner in the world, which sucks up polluted air, cleans it, and releases it? This is how this project started. I was an amateur, unhindered by any kind of knowledge. And also here, I'm aware that I'm in a university, so I can provoke a little bit, yes? And then you put some smart people in a room, the experts who've been working on it for many years, same principle, pizza hotline on the door, and say, nobody leaves the room until we have a prototype. A lot of people saying it's not possible, it's not allowed, it already been done. You completely ignore them, and we built the first one 1 year later. So this sucks up 30,000 cubic meter per hour, capturing the PM2.5, PM10, the ultra-fine particles, and then releasing the clean air. So we have parks which are 20 to 70% more clean than the rest of the city. So if the city has become a machine that kills us, let's build machines that can heal us. Yes? China started to call, how much in Mandarin? So we started to produce these smog-free parks all around the world. And it's really beautiful. Like one tower will never solve the whole problem. And of course we need long-term investment in electrical cars, green energy. Yes, I know. But I, as a maker, I'm not going to wait for government. I'm not going to wait for permission. I'm not going to wait for the future. I am going to do what I can do today. And by creating a place where you can feel the difference, where you can share the difference, where you can show the difference, that's a way to activate people and to show the beauty of clean air. It's about the dream of clean air. This is Krakow, Poland, beautiful, snowy. Day of the opening, I arrived. Tens of these little dogs were hanging out around the tower. You see them here on the right? They look really happy, huh? So I asked my project manager, what are these dogs doing here? There were like a lot of them, huh? Like hanging out around the tower. It was like this weird David Lynch movie I walked into, you know, like this sort of secret meeting I wasn't invited for. So I'm like, what are these dogs doing here? This project manager is like, I don't know. You know, you already asked me 4 times. I don't know. That was Nick. He's on the left. That's me on the right. So I say, okay, we have 3 hours before the opening, everything is working, we did the scientific research, the press is coming, let's find out. And so, of course, we found out dogs have a very high sense of smell. Yes, so they can smell like way times better, like 200 times better than us human beings, something like that. And so they were suffering from the smog way, way more than us human beings. You know, they were just like ugh, and they're like tiny, they can't walk away. So they could smell the clean air from far, far away. And they would start to abandon their owner and hang out around the tower. And they're really happy, eh? Like, yeah, this one is very happy, yeah. This one tries to be happy, but it's too small, you know, like. But it's very interesting. So if animals, if nature can sense what is good for them, why can humans not? We learn. This is Beijing smog. This is the stuff that we were sucking up from the polluted skies. We believe, waste should not exist. Eh? Waste for the one is food for the other. Think like a circle, think like a network. Eh? Marshall McLuhan, Circular Thinking, 30 years ago, that book. Eh? Waste doesn't exist in nature. They don't understand. So why do we do that as humans? Weird. So we put this on our little microscope, what you see here. 42% is carbon, 48%. Carbon under high pressure, you get diamonds. Yes, very good. So inspired by that, we started to make smog-free rings. So compressing it by hand by 30 minutes. So by sharing a ring, you donate 1,000 cubic meter of clean air to the city where the tower is in. And this, ladies and gentlemen, changed everything. We put this online, Kickstarter campaign. And so the money, the finance we made with the jury helped us to build more towers. Yeah? So the waste wasn't the waste, it was the activator, it was the enabler, because we were struggling. Eh? What is the price of clean air? Nobody knows. Eh? It's a poetic utopian question. We live in a world where to pollute is for free. So it was so beautiful to sort of create this and actually using it to make the project grow. And here, I have one here. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of them. This is Rotterdam smog. Yeah, this is Rotterdam. I have Prague smog, I have Beijing smog, I have Delhi smog, I have Rotterdam smog. Yeah, so yeah, you can show it around. Yeah. I'm not going to propose, don't worry. She said yes. Yeah, but you can show it around. So what is interesting... It looks great. It looks good, yeah. Yeah, we never thought... We thought, oh, designing jewelry, we can do that in 4 days. It took us 4 months to make it worthwhile. What is interesting is not just money, because maybe we live in a world where there's not a lack of money or technology, but a lack of imagination, yes? How we want that future world to look like. And if we can't imagine it, we can't get there. You understand what I mean? You know, like, future is not the today reality and saying, oh, we're going to do it 5% less worse. That's not future. Future is something different. What is it? We don't know yet. So it starts in the brain. What I like about this is it's about money, making it grow, but it's also about community. These are photos which were sent to us by wedding couples who purchased it to get married. This is not actor, eh? New York Times did an article about this, validated it, interviewed them. So you can check it online. 20, 30 couples purchasing it, where he proposes to her with the smog-free ring. Not a blood diamond from Africa, but this is a beauty of hope, true beauty. And so we were really excited about this photo, you know? Like, we never imagined this would happen. So we called them to check, and she said yes, like to him, not to me. And who's that lady on the top? No idea, but and it's really cool. Sometimes I sort of check on them, you know? And they're still good, you know, they're still married, you know, they're still doing, somehow I feel responsible for this marriage, which of course I am not. Well, maybe I am. But. So we need science, we need technology to improve the world, absolutely important, but only technology in itself makes us lazy. And only the numbers somehow don't trigger us for change. It's horrible, I know, but it's the reality. So we also need the notion of beauty, of love, of the symbol, of the story, working together to create impact. Clean energy. This is a commission 4 years ago from this famous Afsluitdijk that I showed you. Living with water, fighting with water every day. These are the floodgates to keep the water in and out. So they move these walls of water to control. Designed by Daan Roosegaarde in 1932, the great-grandfather of Rem Koolhaas, the famous Dutch architect. As you can see, they look like temples. The first architect, actually, which was invited by Dutch government to think in an aesthetical way about functional architecture. Beautiful. We saw them for the first time 4 years ago, and they looked like the inside of a smoker's lung, like everything was broken and brown and not so pleasant. So we were commissioned to highlight the beauty of this famous, iconic dam and dike and structure. So we got the money to renovate them. But we also wanted to future, progress, poetry, all these great words. But we realized that everything we would use with LEDs, cables, wires, microchip, firmware, etc. would break down because of the salt and the rain. And these are brutal sea environments. And on a cold night, 2-3 weeks later, walking with Chris, my head of design, walking on the dike there, suddenly we realized, of course there's already light present on this dike, which is the light of the cars. Thank you. There's the light of the cars. What if we would use that? Inspired by the wing of a butterfly, which uses reflection to create its color. So my jacket has toxic pigment. Your fashion has toxic ink to create color. Not the wing of a butterfly, which uses reflection, mutation, structural texture, and that's why the wing of a butterfly always remains vivid. It's incredibly fascinating. So we dragged our Minister of Infrastructure into the story, yes? So mimicking the headlights of the car, daytime, nighttime. So no battery, no cables, no wires, no LEDs, purely the headlights of the car reflective, and this is permanent work of art. So why do we have streetlights burning the whole night when nobody's there? That's really stupid. And how can we use what is already there, which are headlights, and sort of upgrade it, upscale it? So this is an example of a landscape which is energy neutral. This is an example of a landscape which only provide lights when people are there. So there's no light pollution. When the people are gone, there's no light. But it also shows that and I think that's part of the creative thinking, that you can be super, super practical, but practical thinking pushed to such an extreme becomes poetry again. And that's really cool, yeah. I really started to get into this notion of the infrastructure. We always talk about cars and design, but what about the roads? What about highways? What about bicycle paths? This is the most publicized bicycle path in the world, I can honestly say this, commissioned by the Van Gogh Foundation, who wanted to celebrate its 125th anniversary. And they came to me and asked, can you create a place where he feels alive again? We don't want to hide him in a museum with a sign, please do not touch. So I tracked his footsteps and found a weird, beautiful bicycle path where he lived and worked in 1883 till 1885. In the Netherlands. And after that, he moved to France, made the famous Starry Nights, which is hanging in the new MoMA here. And working on materials which charge at daytime and glow at night, inspired by the glow-in-the-dark little stars that you had on the ceiling when you were a boy or girl. how can we make landscapes which are good for people? And how can we think about combining different disciplines, different sectors? Heijmans, big infrastructure company, artists working together. I don't know how to build a highway. I don't want to know. I want to work with the experts, with the craftsmanship. And how can we make our landscape sort of like an interface of information, of expression, of history, of future? I think that's the way we need to start to think about our reality if we want to find a new balance and create a world which is sort of good for us. And last one, and then we can open up for the room. It's on the list, so you know what this is? What are we looking at? Space, yes, very good. A little bit more specific. What are we looking at? Satellites? No, you're getting close. Sorry? Saturn. It's a good answer, but it's a wrong one. Yeah. What are we looking at? Sun? No. I'm not going to say it. So. Very good. All the stuff which is forming around Earth, also called space junk. Yes, very space waste. This is the 8.1 million kilo of space junk which is currently floating around our Earth. Yes. So it started actually with you guys, 1957, Sputnik, Apollo 8. Pieces of satellites, missiles, rockets started to collide, create this layer of junk around our Earth. So somehow we're not satisfied ruining our planet Earth. We sort of keep on. And why should we care, you can wonder? Well, if a tiny particle hits an existing satellite, it's a threat to our communication. Yes? It's like a bomb. Boof. No more internet, no more banking, no more Columbia University website, no more Instagram, no more Today Show, no more Instagram. So we launched Space Waste Lab because nobody really knows how to fix it. With ESA and NASA, European Space Agency, the experts. Phase 1, track it. Visualizing real-time space junk above your head. All of them have a name. It's quite interesting. So Delta is American, Cosmos is China, with Fengwing is China, Cosmos is Russian. And everybody sort of agrees that a net is the safest way to capture. Not proven yet, but Cube satellite, 20 nets, grab it. But then we had a problem. To clean up is not fun. We live in a world where to pollute is for free. And so they were struggling to get the finance. They were struggling to activate people to say, this is important, we need to clean up this stuff. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we introduced the power of creative thinking in a way, of design, of art. So we start to do workshops and saying, okay, but if you have 8.1 million kilo of stuff, what if it's not a problem, but a potential? What can you build with 8.1 million kilo of Lego blocks? Yes, 2,000 workshops workshop with more than 2,000 students and the space experts, so amateurs and experts working together, asking ideas. And one of them said, collect the space waste and put it in a black hole. Well, I'm not so sure about that one. Or here, we need to build a wall from space waste and make the aliens pay for it. Make space clean again. No comments, no comments. Yes, okay. But it's not me, I'm not doing anything. But everybody sort of agrees that the following is the most realistic. NASA is going to 3D print on the moon. It's already on their agenda for habitats. Why are we shipping very expensive, beautiful, complicated material all the way from Earth all the way up? Can we not just capture space junk and use it to 3D print houses on the moon? Why not? Or can we create a sort of solar reflector shield to reduce global warming, to reflect the sun? In a way, climate change is unconscious design, is bad design. We have created it. Can we engineer our way out of it? Or can we create a sort of garbage trucks, garbage rovers, which capture space junk, burn it up for plasma fuel to recharge satellites which ran out of battery, give them a second life? Big problem. But the most realistic, and that's the one I'm personally pushing right now, is this one. When you have a net, space junk is captured. in a controlled re-entry, it hits the Earth atmosphere. What happens when it hits the Earth atmosphere? It burns. Thank you. Yes. So, waste is light. Oh, that's my language. Can we create artificial shooting stars as a replacement for fireworks, for heavily polluting traditional fireworks? And it turns out, yes, we can. So Dubai is spending 8.2 million US dollar per year on fireworks. Netherlands 70 million euro on fireworks as well. So basically we're going to the ministers and saying, take that budget that you're already spending and invest it in this project. You clean up the universe, and at the same time you have a new way of sustainable fireworks. And so far nobody has said no yet. So that's really good, you know. So okay. To conclude, because I want to have some time for interaction with you. This may sound like a utopia. Clean air, clean water, clean energy, clean space. A perfect world, a rainbow on the horizon that we will never, ever reach. And I think that's not true. I don't believe in a utopia. You know, we need to be more active. I believe in a protopia, which was coined by Kevin Kelly, founder of The Wired. Prototype, step by step, trying to improve. We don't know the final answer. Nobody knows. But we know several things. We can't go back. That doesn't exist anymore. Holding on to old ideas, it's gone. We have to improve, so we have to invest in new ideas to survive. So from utopia to prototopia, that's the way forward thinking. And maybe what better place to start than in Columbia University. I also realized that there's a layer above it, which is about creativity, which is about imagination, about curiosity. And that's why we have our solo show now in the Netherlands, Presence, which is a museum show which shows the impact you make on the landscape in a very physical, in a very emotional way. Everything is please touch. I hate these please do not touch signs. Oh! So everything is please touch. It is made for that, up and running right now. Presence is a dream landscape which interacts with your behavior. I wanted to create a place where you feel connected. It shows the impact you have on the world around you, in which you make the artwork and the artwork makes you. All right, thank you. Yes, yeah, cool.
I was am I on? Yeah. I was asking Dan if he wants to just take questions or talk to me first, but...
I want to talk to you first.
I know, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll be quick, because we do want to give everyone a chance to ask some questions, and then we want to...
I have 289 slides left, but we're not going to do that. Yeah.
If you all have nothing to do for the rest...
Okay. That's why I love Boekminister Fuller. He gave like lectures like 8 hours, 9 hours.
I know. It used to be the thing to do, but people don't have that kind of time or patience, especially in New York. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to just ask a very few questions.
Hit me.
Yeah, hit you. Oh, here's your ring, by the way. I'm not breaking up with you, though. It's just... Okay. Just because I have so many things I can talk to you about, but just to move us into the next conversation, we were already talking about what should we do together next, and I'm just sort of move us to that conversation. First of all, I want you to talk about something that's very dear to my heart, which is being an amateur. Like, you know, I'm an amateur. Like I say, okay, we're going to do the Year of Water. What do I mean, Columbia is full of the most brilliant people, some of whom are here tonight, amazing scientists, people. You know, why the School of the Arts, you know? So there's an advantage to being an amateur.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think when you learn something new, you're always an amateur trying to become an expert. And I think, for example, take the space waste, the space junk. I'm not smarter than ESA or NASA. I mean, because these guys are really smart. But what I can do as an artist, as a designer, is add a new perspective, a new dimension. They've never thought of saying, hey, can space waste be artificial shooting star? And so to be an amateur and to intervene, to listen, to learn, it forces you to rethink, to relook at a situation. And maybe that kind of new way of thinking and looking and acting is the way to solve the problems that we're facing. Because in the current linear way of thinking, we're not going to make it. Yeah.
I mean, there is obviously, I mean, and Columbia is such a good example of this. And I've been in rooms with people who know so much, and we need that.
You need that
depth of understanding.
I mean, I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me in certain things, of course.
But what you do is you jump off the cliff. Like you just say, why don't we try that? You know, like because you're not coming in with one paradigm of thinking. And I think that's a really important lesson for now, because I see artists who are working in ways like this. I mean, there are very few people like you in the world that I've met anyway, who are willing to take the whole problem of the world as part of your process as an artist, right?
Yeah.
But this notion, so connected to this notion of the amateur is the notion of the cross-disciplinary thinking.
Exactly.
So would you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, when I was 16, my parents asked me, so what do you want to do for education, for job? And I said, I want to do art, I want to do science, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to travel the world, I want to upgrade. And then everybody got really worried and confused.
That's why you left home at 16.
Exactly, yeah. And for 2 weeks, they did job review tests, etc. And after 2 weeks, results came in. And basically, they said to me, Daan, what you want does not exist. And I was very depressed for one day, because you're 16 years old and the world says no to you. But at the same time, I remember the second day that I woke up and then I said, well, forget about that. Then I'll just do it myself, you know. And in a way, that mentality of taking ownership, and of course listening to those people, but also sort of with love, ignoring them, and trying to find your own way of hearing everything but listening to a little bit is crucial. Absolutely, yeah. That's in my blood in a way. And it's also in the Netherlands, as we live below sea level. The fight with who lives below sea level, it's a bit crazy. So it's sort of interesting how you try to find harmony, try to make sense. And maybe I create these kind of projects to keep myself sane as well, to make the world understandable for me. Because I look outside my window, I'm very confused. There's air pollution, traffic jams, CO2 rising. It's very, very confused. My students in Shanghai University, very confused, mad. So maybe we create to make sense of it all, don't you think? Yeah.
In one of your, and I think it's in the book, an interview, you say that you hope your grandchild, when they ask you, well, what is that machine you made, that smog-free machine? And you say, well, I was addressing the issue of pollution. And they say, what is pollution? Like, that's your dream, right?
That they have no idea what pollution is, because it doesn't exist anymore.
Will be gone, and no one will remember what pollution
But until that moment, there's still a lot of work to be done. Yeah. Exactly,
So I wanna ask you something else. Right now, and we see this with our students, and we see this with young people, there is not a lot of future thinking.
Yeah.
And partly because people are feeling overwhelmed by the problems of the world, and not just sort of hanging on in fear. So would you talk about that a little? Because I know you think about that.
Yeah, I think it's weird, because when you look at the 60s or the 70s, when you go to TWA terminal here in JFK,
Saarinen building.
Yeah, amazing, you know, go there if you haven't been there. It's amazing, 1972. You feel the futurism, you feel the hope, you feel the curiosity. We would go to the moon, we had the Jetsons cartoons, we would fly the Concorde. And today, when we speak with each other, and when you need to read the newspaper or watch the news, it sort of seems that we're scared of the future. The robots will take over our job, the Chinese will come and buy everything, and but no. So how can we create a world where we're curious, not scared? And I think that's part of the beauty of art and design, that it can show different scenarios. It can trigger, it can activate people. Because the problems that we're facing, climate change, for me, but I'm the son of a math teacher, but for me, it's a way of bad design, or of conscious design. We have created it as human beings. So we can do two things. We can either hide in a room, blame somebody else, cry, or wait for permission, or we can say, well, we have created it. Let's design, let's imagine our way out of it. And I think that's the mentality we need to embrace, and at least that's the reason why and I think the team, makes these kind of projects. Yeah, it's not utopia; it's a protopia. Yeah.
So you've said the best.
That's really important. Yeah.
You said the best thing to fix bad design is good design, and we can design our way out of it.
Well, what's the alternative? Yeah.
But that's a tremendous optimism. So, how do you keep that optimism alive? I think that's important for students to hear. How do you do that?
Well, there's always 80% BS, like to get bullshit, to get 20% beauty, and that's a good day, you know. Like, so I have the same stuff as you have, as you have, but I don't know. It's just, you know, you wake up every night at 4 a.m. I wake up for 2 minutes. It's really weird. Every night, it's really weird.
Just for 2 minutes?
Yeah, and then I have to write something down, and it can be like a genius idea, or that I just want a strawberry cheesecake ice cream the next day. It gets really stupid, you know? It's like, sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's really stupid, but it doesn't matter. But it's interesting when you have an idea. When you have an idea, or you have an idea, you become a sort of voluntary prisoner of that idea. You know, it's in your brain, and it needs to get out. And I think to take ownership in that, and to take action in that, is also a way to relieve that tension. And so after I write it down, I fall asleep again. And so it's a way to make sense of it all. So creation is not just personal expression, it's a way of dealing with reality and trying to improve it.
And it seems like moving from project to project is your way also.
Oh, we'll be designing cities in the future, in 5 to 10 years. We'll be designing landscapes.
When you say we, you mean
the studio? Yeah.
The studio.
Yeah, of course. No, we. Yeah, here. No, I feel that. That's also, we feel that with the mayors and the developers, and you want to have landscapes which are good for you. And the new generation doesn't want a Louis Vuitton bag or the Ferrari, but they want clean air or clean water. You can feel it, Flint, or the air pollution. It's a topic, you know. This is not just tree hugger hippie anymore. It's a whole different generation who has a new set of values. And if we don't design or sort of facilitate that, we're not future-proof. Yeah.
I was saying to you earlier.
Some questions from the audience.
Just one last thing.
Yeah, you're in charge. Yeah. We'll just have a waterlicht opening. Everybody's waiting. It doesn't matter, you know. Like. Yeah.
Okay.
No. You're in charge, Carol. Yeah.
Okay. Give me back the ring. Okay. Just the last thing. I talked to you earlier about something that I don't think you'd actually thought about, which is I hear it from climate journalists and I hear it from scientists.
Yeah.
That there's this thing called climate grief.
Okay.
That people are feeling, especially people who really are studying what's happening on the planet. They're suffering it. You know? The people who know the most are the ones who are suffering it the most.
Yeah, because you know it all, but you can't express it, or you can express it, but there's no interaction. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think that's the beauty of waterlicht. I mean, we all know, we've all experienced Sandy, 2012. We all know sea levels rising this century, you know, a lot. But the numbers won't change us. But once you see it, once you share it, once you experience it together, maybe that is the part in our brain which is a trigger. And everybody will have his or her own personal interpretation, you know. Some will try to create a solution, other, you know, will think about it when they buy a house. Other people will say, no, we're gonna generate energy from the changing in tide. But I don't want to be just a consumer, I want to be a maker. I want to make solutions, I want to make new ideas, I want to make new dreams. And I think that's the mentality which is future-proof, and that's also the mentality which makes you happy. Yeah.
I want to say one thing, and then we'll turn it open to the audience.
Please. Yeah.
Last night it was raining.
Cats and dogs.
And
I almost felt at home, like in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
because it's always
it was
raining.
a little like that. And
Thank you for that.
It
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
fantastic
It was weird, no?
experience. Like everyone was wet and everyone was soggy.
And everybody stayed.
And everybody stayed.
That's also, yeah.
And everybody was thrilled because the rain looked like diamonds and everybody was excited. And so what
Tonight is going to be different
it'll be beautiful in a different way.
because you have a clean, clear sky, so you don't have the light pollution reflecting in the clouds. So it's going to be a bit more dark. It's a little bit more wind. Yeah, so it's always different, and maybe that's beautiful.
So what was beautiful, and I'll really stop and end with this, it was beautiful to be part of the water, to be wet and be in
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to see a whole collective of people having an experience together.
With water.
And with water, but also with beauty. And people were in a great mood about it.
Yeah.
So I think everything that you say, which sounds utopian or protopian and doesn't seem possible in a sense last night, I think we were feeling that. So
Amen.
bravo, Dan.
Amen. Yes,
Yeah.
we did it.
Bravo.
Thank you. Cool. Okay,
You're on your own.
let's do some questions.
Questions? Anybody? Their mics?
Nobody leaves the room until we have 2 questions. So.
Hi, thank you for being here and for
Hey.
your words. I appreciate what you said about amateur and cross-discipline. I think if we went to Midtown or to a lot of architecture firms in this city, we would have a lot of people in power that are not ready to hire an amateur or someone without experience. So, and we also talk about Silicon Valley and failing
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
But are we really ready? And
Exactly.
what is it going to take for a much larger part of society to be ready for amateurs, cross-discipline, and real failure?
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's scary. So every time when I start a new project, I have the same fear. There's always this little devil on my shoulder, which saying, "What if it's going to go wrong? And they're going to laugh at you, and the media." But there's also a little angel on the other shoulder, which says, "But what if it would work? And it's going to be really cool. And you don't want to miss that one." So they're always there, the fear and the curiosity, and they feed me, and they're part of me in a way. The same like when you have to decide to hire an amateur, it's scary. But at the same time, I think the only thing I can do as a human being is to decide on what I base my decisions. Am I going to be driven by fear or by curiosity? It's very, very interesting if you become aware of that and you start to implement it in your daily life. And I'm going to react to fear, or I'm going to be driven by curiosity. That's, I think, the way to build it up. But easy, no. Important, yes. Yeah.
Hi. Are your artistic and design creations done to bring attention to an issue, or do you take into account economic viability to see if they can be used on a larger scale?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think all the projects, they have a poetic agenda, awareness, notion of beauty, but there's always a practical agenda as well. For example, the Gates of Light I showed you, light reflective buildings. That can be our street light, our street lamp of the future. So why do we have LEDs? Cables, wires, maintenance. So what we do in the studio is we do the first one. We show that it can be done, we make it work, we make it beautiful. And then it's also up to the world to sort of, say, yeah, we want it, and make it grow. It's not bowling, it's a ping pong. I need somebody else who says, we want to invest, we want to make it grow, we want to take ownership. And that does happen in all of these projects. For example, Smog-Free, launched in Korea last week, China, Poland. We find Smart Highway, the bicycle path, we find people who take ownership and make it grow. But personally, I'm the most interested in the beginning. We're really good at that. So I think in the end, it's about showing it in such a way that it's not special anymore, but it becomes part of the new standard. So scaling up, making it grow, super important, but we need to find the right partners for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's a good question.
Over here.
Hi there, thanks for your amazing
hi.
presentation. I'm from the Climate Museum. And
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions.
Here in New York, no?
What's
Yeah.
that?
Here in New York.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
I know.
yes.
Yeah. You did one of the billboard, the Matrix board project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Cool. Thanks. I am wondering if your work intersects with public policy and also movement building and activism? And also a second curiosity is, have you thought of doing a project that in addition to dealing with sea level rise, deals with health of oceans?
So what was the first question?
First question is about, does your work intersect with public policy and or activism and movement building?
Okay. Well, I think that's what I love about the public space. That, like, it's a space that everybody uses, not so many people really care about. So in a way, all of the projects that I showed are sort of prototypes to show we can have clean air or we can have clean energy. And then you talk with the policymakers, the mayors or the ministers, and say, hey, why can this not be part of new standard? So when our Minister of Infrastructure saw the bicycle path or the gates of light, she said, hey, we should embrace this. And so now it's part of government regulation to say light pollution is not allowed, et cetera, et cetera. So we always say, a lot of times the discussion is government should do this, or regulation should this. Yes, but I'm aware of it. Artists and desire can also inspire government to accept change. So it works two ways. And I think that's the type of role that I want to embrace. Yeah.
I also was wondering if you have pondered dealing with health of oceans in a future project.
The ocean, yeah. With the plastic pollution, you mean?
And acidification and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Not yet. I want to first do this space waste thing, and then I'll put my teeth in that. Right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Questions? More questions?
Your country is far older than ours. By comparison, it's ancient. And
thank you for making me feel old.
I'm wondering if you have the peculiar breed of humans called climate deniers, climate change deniers there.
Yeah, yes we do. Same here. It's the same story. It's the same old story. It's weird. We as human beings, we rather hold on to what we know, although we know it's really bad, than that we accept something new, of which we know it's better, but we don't know exactly what it is. You know what I mean? And that's the idol we are in. It's not a lack of money, because the money is there. The money is there. We're spending billions every year on things. The technology is there. Read Drawdown, Paul Hawken, big book, 100 ideas how to fight climate change. It's all there. He shows the science. He's done the math. He's done the economical measurements. It's our Bible. When we design something, we read that. It's all there. But somehow we're sort of waiting for something. And it's exactly the same question I ask myself, like, how can I do more? How can I do more? And maybe that's why I create, and that's why we do Waterlicht, to add the notion of imagination, to add the notion of wonder to it, with the hope to move beyond the conversation of opinions, you're right, I'm wrong, and say, let's move towards proposals. So if you disagree with me, that's fine, but what's your proposal then? And maybe to conclude your answer, your question, 2 weeks ago I was in Korea, and one of the top guys of space agency said, we should find aliens.
Aliens?
Aliens, yeah. I'm like, okay, fine, yeah, okay. Super. This high top scientific guy, I won't mention his name, but it was a really cool conversation. And he said, why we should find aliens? Because the chance that they are there is quite big. Like, space is big, and okay. It's not just because we want to figure out the aliens, but it's because we don't have the notion of the we as humanity.
Oh, right.
Yeah. There's no we, it's us, we're separated. And so the moment we will find aliens, suddenly, as humans, where there's like a we and there's like them. So we will always have this kind of separation that you just address. We just need to change the scale. Yeah. So let's find the aliens. Yeah, that's. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, that was a good answer. Yeah.
I can't wait to live in a Roosegaarde city, and thank you for your work. I've been a fan for a long time.
You are all invited. Yeah, yeah.
I was wondering, you talk about failure, and it's such a precious thing for an artist, and I wonder if you'd share a failure that you learned from in your practice.
Oh, you got another 2 hours? Yeah. I think every project sort of failed. It's always there. Oh, with the present show, for 3 weeks before opening, we were installing, and all the prototypes in the studio, they looked good. And then we started to install it in the museum, and it just looked like shit. You know, I was like, really, it's just like, oh, it's clunky and noisy and not good. There was no poetry. And then I called my head of design, Chris, and I'm like, dude, this is not going to work. You know, we have to cancel the opening. You know, and then he's like, Daan, you're always calling me 2 weeks before the opening. With every project, you're always doing this, you know, and I forget. And he says, you just, you know, don't think about the technology, don't think about the time, don't think about money, focus on the idea, focus on the dream. Let the idea guide you. And we got to work with the engineers and the managers, and we made it work, and we had the opening, and now it's one of the most, you know, successful exhibitions they've ever had. So there is always this piano music from the Titanic in the background, you know, where you're like, what's this piano music doing, you know? But that's the moment where you have to be idea-driven, and then somehow, somewhere, you figure it out. But yeah, it's always there. It's always there, but you have to deal with it. Yeah.
I think that's it. So you'll all join us, I hope, at 7:30.
Yeah.
We'll hit the
please,
switch.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol, for bringing Daan. And I'm going to ask Gavin to take Daan out. He's going to be, his book, his monograph, will be for sale, and he will be signing copies of his book out in the foyer here. For those of you that will be lingering, so Gavin's going to take, those of you that will be lingering to stand in the queue for Waterlicht, it's a beautiful night. You might want to walk down to the West Harlem Pier to experience our beautiful Great Hudson. Restaurants down the street. The Forum Cafe downstairs is open till 7:30. What you do need to know is, Carol referenced that we go dark in this building in order to experience Waterlicht. And we will start that process in this building in about half an hour, between 6:45 and 7. And so that's why I want Daan to get out to the book signing. But the rest of you, please join us there or down in the urban layer, which will be open until 8 o'clock. But it will be dark on the west side of the building. Thank you all very much for coming.